What is going on, everyone? It's Ultimate Spy 53 here, and welcome to another episode of Reviewed number 158. And today, I'm going to be reviewing the movie The Pink Panther, the 2006 reboot of the original Pink Panther film series. So what did I think of The Pink Panther, which came out actually in 2006? This is the reboot I'm talking about. And I will say it was very funny. It was hilarious. It definitely reminds me of the Johnny English movies. I mean, Johnny English 1, the first one came out about 3 years before. This movie came out in 2006. Johnny English 1 came out in 2003, so only like a 3-year gap. But it was hilarious. This movie was so good. It got horrid reviews though. Both this one and the sequel, which I'll be reviewing back to back. Next week will be Pink Panther 2. But this movie, I think even the second movie got worse reviews than this movie. This movie, I don't know what the problem was. Honestly, it's just a funny movie. It's just downright hilarious. I mean, I remember watching the original movies. I don't know if I watched all of them. I think I maybe watched a couple of them. The original Peter Sellers ones. I remember one of them was just like, it was so damn funny. And I think that Steve Martin does a good job in the role of Inspector Clouseau, and he's just hilarious. I just love him. He's so... I just like him. I've only seen him in like maybe one thing. I think I haven't seen it in a while. But the two by the Dozen movies, I may consider reviewing them at one point, but I'm not sure yet. I haven't really just made my mind up about that. It might happen, who knows. But that's just an example of a movie. I've only seen that movie, and like that's the only thing I've seen him in, really. But still, this movie was great. The opening credits, though, wow, brings back memory, because I remember the I don't know if the movies came before the cartoon shorts, but one, I think it was either the cartoon shorts or the movies back in the 60s, 70s, 80s. I don't know how long they made, but they have the intro of the movie has the 2D animated cartoon with the Pink Panther, and then Inspector Clouseau, and the original Inspector was like a dark haired man, but this one is obviously white haired. And I just love it. It works well with the thing, especially with the Pink Panther theme. I love that theme. It's so good, and it was just a funny movie. I really enjoyed it. It was so fun. It was just so funny to watch because the first time I saw it after years, it was hilarious. I just laughed my ass off. But I mean, I think after a while the comedy gets kind of stale because I'm used to the jokes, kind of like with Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. The first time I watched that movie, it was hilarious. And then after that, it kind of got a little repetitive. That's why I've liked the movie less. Same thing with this movie. It's fun. It's very fun. But after a while, it kind of gets old. Kind of gets like, oh my goodness, this movie. But still, I love the movie. The comedy was really good, and I loved every aspect of the jokes that were involved. And it's just so silly because Clouseau reminds me of Johnny English very much. He's just so silly. He's just so funny. He's so clumsy, so stupid. He's so reckless. He's great. And I will say that Steve Martin's French accent was just so hilarious because he has a hard time even speaking properly. Because he's French, so he's meant to be like this French. I mean, he had Jean Reno co-starring with him, so it kind of made sense because he's 100% French, so it kind of makes sense. And then overall, the cast in general was really, really good. It had Kevin Kline. I've only seen him in Beauty and the Beast. I hadn't seen him before that movie came out, and then I realized he was in this movie too. Emily Mortimer, John Reno, as I said before. Beyonce was in the movie. I've never actually seen Beyonce in a movie before. I've just heard a lot about her, so not really something I knew. But back to the whole French accent thing. It was funny. I mean, I just wanted to mention who was in it. So if you're wondering who is in it, this movie came out quite a bit ago. It's been about 13 years, a little more than that. And I will say his French accent was so funny when I think that you're the trainer who trains. There's so many funny lines in this movie. So many funny lines. It's like you're the trainer who trains, who turns out to be the actual killer. He's from Russia. He has a Russian accent. And Clouseau makes fun of the accents. Like, oh, your accent is so hard to hear. Hard to understand. You should work on your accent. Even though Clouseau's accent is hard to understand too, because Steve Martin's French accent is so good, but it's so generically French. Like, you have an actor like Jean Reno, who he's French actor, but he he doesn't speak like with a super thick accent like Steve Martin does. So it's really weird. And Steve Martin's an American actor, so it's just so weird. But even then, he just has a hilarious accent. It's so funny, especially there's a scene where Clouseau, preparing for America, he has to get an accent coach, and so the accent coach kind of has a hard time with him, and so he can't pronounce the words even right. He's not even trying to pronounce the words right. So he's saying like hamburger like hamburger. Like he's not even trying. He's like he doesn't know how to do it. Like it's so bad. And that's how funny the accent is. Like especially when it comes to actually like going to the airport and going back to I think France it was, and the airport clerk is like trying to see your bag, and then he's like, I have in my bag a couple of you can't even say it right. It's like wow, the dialect coach didn't do a thing. It was because he didn't even try to learn it. So it's like what the hell. That was very funny, and because this is a comedy movie, it's hilarious, obviously, but one of the funniest things I found, because there's a lot of funny moments in the movie, a lot, that made me really laugh out loud, and the funniest one has got to be when Nicole, who is Clouseau's love interest, I think they're very close, and there's a scene where it just the physics of it don't really make sense, but there's a scene where Clouseau is at his house, or is it at Nicole's house? I can't remember exactly where it is that they're at, but they're at some house. I'm pretty sure it's his house. I could be wrong, but there's a scene where it's after he gets his finger pinched by the door, and then Nicole gets some eggs out and then eats it wrong, like eats it whole because it's raw, so she doesn't really cook it, so she eats it raw, and then Clouseau has to get it out of her, and then so when that happens, it comes out of her, it goes boom, and then the egg flies out the window, and the camera pans to a biker just riding along, and then it hits the biker, and then the biker runs into a food stand or whatever. I don't know what they're selling, but food stand, and then it just ignites into fire, just blows up. Like, really? That's not how it works. No, you can't have a bike just blow up a stand. I can see like it can run to it can break things, but not ignite into a fire. I mean, seriously. I mean, I think the movie was just because it's comedy. It was not supposed to be realistic. It's like you can't realistically have a bike run into a stand and then have the stand blow up. I mean, it literally ignited into fire. Like, it's like what the hell? That was probably the funniest scene in the movie. It was so funny because it makes no sense, and it was like really. It was great. I found it really funny also when Clouseau makes the stupidest assumptions. He's always saying like ah. And there's only a couple of times when he says that, but it's still really funny. There's so many funny moments in the movie. There's just so many. And one of the actors that was in this movie that I've only seen in one movie before, and I actually didn't like that movie very much at all. I did a review of it, King Arthur. You can click the link in the description to go check out my review of that movie. He's in the movie, and in this movie he plays a parody of James Bond. He plays a guy named Nigel, and he's also known as Agent 006, which is a parody of James Bond, and he's so, I don't know, he's great. I like him because his job is to get rid of the gas mask bandits. It basically gives Clouseau all the credit by giving him his coat and then doing it himself and then giving back his coat, and so now he's the savior of everyone because he got rid of the gas mask bandits. It's so redundant. It's like, what the hell? It was just wild. I didn't expect it really. But also, one of the cool things about Clive Owen's character is the fact that he also remarks by the weather. He basically is, because a lot of what happens in the movie that Clouseau says is that wonderful weather we're having. I hope it gets better. Kind of thing. It's always talking about the weather and doing weird stuff like attacking. In fact, attacking was part of the thing about with Clouseau and Planteau. I'll attack you. But basically him attacking him was just a running gag of the movie. It was just so funny. But yeah, definitely part of the movie was talking about how the weather, one of them were having weather, and I think and then Nigel was doing the same thing. It was just like, what? And in that same scene, there's a casino owner who is played by an actor named Roger Rees. Now, he's another British actor, or Welsh. I mean, it seemed like kind of general area, UK. And so, I've only seen him in one other movie, and that was Robin Hood Men in Tights. I will also leave a link to that episode in the description because I also reviewed that too, just for reference if you wanted to check that out. And so he was the casino owner, and I've only seen him in one other movie, and that was it. So it was like a good 8 years later he started this movie, and I liked him. He's cool. And it was it's cool to see actors from previous movies that I've only seen a couple of movies in, because again, there's only a couple of actors that I've seen them in maybe one movie. Like Emily Mortimer, I've only seen her in maybe one movie, and I think I've only seen her in Mary Poppins Returns. I think so. I don't know exactly. She actually puts on a French accent for this movie because a lot of actors like Steve Martin and Emily Mortimer aren't actually French. They're American and British, respectively. So it kind of makes sense. But it was kind of it was crazy. And there was a joke in the movie that had to do with testicles because it got the wrong idea because of Clouseau's accent, his really strong French accent. He ends up pronouncing bowls like balls. So he when he means bowls like BOWLS bowls. Apparently the owner thought it was balls, like his testicles, and so he's like, I want to see your big breast balls, and it was like, oh, you want to see my ball, my testicles? No, I think it was a joke like there. It was like, wow, really? And then there's another scene in the movie about I guess halfway through where I think it was Clouseau's boss was in his office and he hides. And then, because Clouseau likes to make things secure by hitting them for some reason, he catches his boss and tries to pull off his face, which he thinks is a mask. And I think that's maybe a reference to Scooby-Doo or even a Mission Impossible, because both those franchises use masks, which is very funny because it's like, oh, wow, that's wild. He would think that it was mask, actually. So I guess that's a running joke because also Mission Impossible 3 came out the same year. Came out in 2006 also, so I guess that might have been a reference to that. I'm not sure. And one of the weirdest things in the movie that happened is when Clouseau and Planto. Again, Planto is the French guy played by Jean Reno, who's actually French, who's assigned to keep an eye on Clouseau and also to work with him. And so they end up getting into a hotel room together because they're on an investigation, and they have to share a bed. They sleep together. It's weird, and because of that, they end up sharing their lives. Clouseau ends up, asking him about his love life, and it's just so weird and so personal because it's not something you really hear because, again, they work together, so I guess they didn't really have time to talk about things that are personal, but, we find out that Pluto has actually a wife, and it's just like, wow, it's things you didn't know about that. It's also, very weird because it's that's the last thing you'd want to do. And another funny part about the movie that I found was just weird was the fact that when Clouseau and Planto are going after Zania, who's played by Beyonce, they actually get into a fight with the thugs that are in the elevator, and he's like, "Oh, good teamwork." But it's Clouseau didn't do anything because he didn't know how to fight. So it's he's well, he's still he's moving his arms around that's not fighting. It was really teamwork. Cool. And I think that I was really confused by this happened towards in the movie when it's just before Clouseau gets fired, which is a big thing in the movie. His bags get switched, and I don't know why. Is there someone framing him or something like that? I don't really know. Maybe getting him arrested. I don't know what the point of that was, but it was just confusing. I didn't really understand it, and it made no sense to me because I didn't really get it. So I guess it was meant to speed up the plot of the movie, make the plot go forward, but I didn't really understand why would his bag get switched in the first place. And also he gets fired. This is the thing. He's stripped of his inspector status, and also he gets stripped of his job, I guess, basically. And so it kind of reminded me of how Jordan English gets fired in Strikes Again, which is the one that came out in October, the third movie. I'm pretty sure I'm not making any more of those, but he gets fired. So same kind of thing where he just feels like he's lost everything. It kind of reminded me of the scene in Jordan English 3 where he gets fired, where Jordan English gets fired because he makes a fool of himself because he makes everything horrible, and it's just it's meant to be a comedy film. Well, again, Johnny English and Pink Panther are two comedy things that are really funny, and so I just found it really interesting that there was it kind of related to that. It was interesting. And one of the craziest things that Clouseau does because a part of the movie is when he confronts Zania about the Pink Panther, the diamond, not the actual panther, but the diamond. They end up getting a phone call, and he answers it, and he ends up getting a new phone plan, I guess. And he ends up downloading these ringtones, and somehow it causes a citywide power outage. I have no idea how, but it does, and it's just the weirdest thing ever, because I guess gives them a virus or something like that. I don't know what the deal with that. That was just weird. I don't know. But another thing that was really funny, and this is the last thing I want to say about the movie before I end this, because that's all I can say about the movie, because Nicole has glasses and she's the love interest in the movie. I think that something's gonna happen in the next movie. I can't remember exactly what happens in the next movie, but she's in the movie, so maybe something happens with Clozo and her that they maybe end up together. I don't know exactly. No, I haven't seen it in a while, but they go to the big like reception thing where Zanya is performing, and Clozo, because he's really into Nicole, takes off her glasses because she's more beautiful like that. But he forgets that she can't actually see without the glasses. So it's like, then what's the point? Well, he probably didn't know, but like, she can't see, so of course she's gonna run to a tree. But yeah, overall, the Pink Panther, the reboot, this first movie, really, really funny. Despite the reviews, it was really funny. I don't know if I would consider it the best comedy movie of all time. I think that Johnny English really ties with that, because that was also a really funny comedy film trilogy, I guess, at this point. But I don't think they're making more. The Pink Panther has always been like this comedy series. I feel like it kind of matches into the Johnny English style because it's so funny. So that's why I like it a lot. It just kind of, if we were to put Jacques Cousteau with Johnny English, it would make a very funny crossover. I don't know if that would ever happen, but maybe in cartoon form, but still, very funny movie, and I really enjoyed it. So that's all I'm gonna say. I'm gonna give this movie well, the first time I saw it, I thought it was hilarious. So I don't know. Again, after I watched it a few times, it does get a little boring because the comedy kind of feels like the same thing. Again, that's because you watch it multiple times, it's gonna happen. So I'm gonna give this movie a 9 out of 10. Not a perfect score because it wasn't a perfect movie. I did enjoy it a lot though. But again, I definitely feel like it is what it is, and some people don't like it. I certainly loved it. I thought it was hilarious, but I'm not gonna give it a perfect score. I'm gonna give it a near perfect score because it's great. But I don't know. I didn't really have any issues with it, really. Not really. I can't really think of anything. There were things that I really didn't understand about it, so maybe I could dock off points because of that. I don't know why, but still, it was really fun. I think it might have got a lower score because it's a reboot, and the older films were better. I don't know. Who knows? But still, very funny movie, and I really, really enjoyed it. So anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Reviewed. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit the like button. I really do appreciate it. And if you're new to this channel, subscribe for more episodes of this series and other series that I do, as well as other great content. Also, make sure you click that bell to enable alerts to miss some uploads, and I'll be back next week with another episode. Alright? See ya.